screen. Many birds with one stone, an authentic model for group-based assessments. Sama.
Okay, good afternoon. So I'm here today to share my experience with regard to group-based assessments. 2 years ago, I was given the leadership of a research proposal unit, like you can say it is a research methods unit, where students had to do 2 different assessments on an individual basis. But because the student numbers were expected to grow and grow, and there was a need to change the assessments to be group-based assessments from a commercial aspect. So I started to look at previous literature on how we can come up with an authentic assessment for a group assignments, and how can we engage students in a way that they can all engage and be stimulated during the entire journey. So I will take you through the journey that I have been involved in the last 1 year. So this presentation is a bit different. So if you don't mind, I would like you to connect to my slides, and you can grab your phone, or you can open a new tab in your browser where you can go to menti.com. Just open any tab in your browser and go to menti.com. Then you can use the code 24330. If you are done with that, you can show me thumb up on the screen itself. You will see on the right bottom corner, you will see a thumb button. So you just click on that so we know that you are connected. So menti.com 24330. So you can click on this button if you are connected. So we got 1, that's good. 2, it is still on the bar. Yes, excellent. So a couple more, because I'll get some questions to kick off this presentation, and then we go from there. Okay, we got 8 so far. I think we have 28 in this room, so I wish if everyone can participate. I promise you it will be fun and it will be interactive. You will like it. Okay, I'll get you the first question then, while others are being connected. So the question is, how often do you use group-based assessments? So you'll see us on your screen, in your mobile phone, you will see the question popping up. Always or quite often, sometimes, rarely, not at all. Okay, cool. So it's a bit tricky because many of you may not be interested in my presentation today, but you can use it as, like, you know, general knowledge. So I can see around maybe 50 or 60% who have used it, or they are being using it. So okay, next question then for the entire group. So in a few words, name 3 problems with group assessments. Whatever you think about, you know, your challenges that you have been facing while you conduct group-based assessment, whether in terms of development of the assessment, whether in terms of running of the assessment, or the entire journey of the students. What do you think? What are the key problems that you have been facing? Team selection, grading, freebooters. I don't know what that means. So we'll see now our word cloud popping up with most frequent words being in the large fonts. Performance, yes. Attendance, transparency, students working together, yes, I agree. Politics, equity marking, yes, that's right. That's very interesting because in the last 1 year, I have been trying to understand how students actually behave in terms of engaging in group-based assessment. And I fully agree with whatever is being said here. And what I try to do is to summarize the problems and try to link that with previous literature in this regard. So the most common stuff that I have seen is in this particular slide. So what I have seen, like if you want to change it from an individual assessment to a group-based assessment, you can't just say, okay, it is now a group-based assessment, because individual assessments are suitable for individuals to run that assessment. So they are challenging for an individual to take or undertake that process. But if you want to change it to be a group-based assessment like the unit that I have been coordinating, the unit should be challenging enough. The assessment should be complex enough in a way that it will engage and stimulate students to work together. So it will warrant a group effort. And this is the main thing that we try to focus on when we adopt group-based assessments. And the assessment should be a bit authentic in terms of being a problem-solved assessment like the one Adam and Sarah were talking about, or it could be a project-based assessment. So you can personalize the experience of the students. So every single group could come up with their own project at the end of the day. And because my unit is about research proposals, so every group was given the opportunity to come up with a completely unique proposal than others. And even if you have an essay or you have a report to be done, it should be adjusted enough in order for each group to come up with a more personalized and unique outcome at the end of the day. The other thing that I have seen is that many lecturers, they want to have a peace of mind and they ask students to have their own groups formed. And the problem with that is you keep students in their comfort zones because they will select their friends. And when they select their friends, it will be difficult for us to assess their individual performance at the later stage because they will favor their students, their friends, and give them a high ranking when you come up with a situation that you want to evaluate each individual and see to what extent they have actually contributed to the entire work. And collusion, contract cheating, and many other forms of academic misconduct may come into play because students who know each other, they are more vulnerable to be involved and engaged in such unacceptable practices. One more thing is the team miscommunication, as you correctly mentioned in the word cloud. Yes, there are issues with team miscommunications, and that's why we want students to learn the better practices to be good communicators. One of the graduate attributes that we are all striving to achieve is how to make our students better communicators. So unless you put them in the context of communicating orally or in writing, they will not be up to it. They will not be employable at the end of the day. So group-based assessments will open many opportunities for students to polish their soft skills in terms of teamwork, in terms of conflict management, as well as communication. And I have seen it like when you get a group of students who are not diverse enough in terms of GPA, in terms of backgrounds, gender diversity, or whatever factors that you may need to consider, you will find out that those who are introverts in nature or those who are low achievers, they will not engage enough. They will be singled out. They will not be part of the team. You will see like 3 out of 4 be engaging in the group effort, but the 4th one will not be included in the discussions. So that was one of the issues that I have also spotted during my experience, as well as the literature. And it is also difficult to assess each member. How would we assess them unless we have proper terminology? So if you are saying, yes, we want to go for peer evaluation, we have tools and technologies, unless you do that systematically by, in the first place, you ask students to form their groups based on your own selection as a teacher, you will end up getting false ranking and grades for the peer assessment. So there is a missed opportunity by not implementing a systematic approach to group-based assessment. And I teach project management, so my students need soft skills more than any other discipline, because all projects will require a lot of leadership traits, communication, and conflict management tools. So we are missing the opportunity of equipping students before they graduate with the tools and skills that are needed to be more employable. So what I have done, when I got the direction that we need to change from an individual assessment to group-based assessment. So the first assessment was a critical report that students had to do individually. And then
that's 10 minutes, Sama, 10 minutes already.
yes, that's right. So the second one was a research proposal that students have to do. And it was individual, then I had to do that in a group setting. So the first thing was to change the assessment to be a progressive assessment. Today in the first session, they were talking about asking students to do consequential assessments. So you can actually pick those who are contact cheating or they are not engaging enough. So the proposal was split into 3 phases. One is outline proposal, draft proposal, and then final proposal. And the students have to consider all feedback given to them by the tutor or other colleagues in their subsequent submissions. And the submission was made intentionally bigger and more complex in terms of the tasks that students have to do during the term. And the teacher had to do the group forming. It was not fully random. The teacher had to consider the GPA as a main criterion. The gender was also considered. For example, a girl was not actually put in a group with males alone. So we had this feedback coming from one of our students saying, I was singled out because I'm the only girl in the group. So you need to consider other factors like gender, diversity, because some students from one country may speak in their own language. So you need to be diverse in your selection. So this is what we did as well. You ask students to negotiate a group charter. So a group charter where students can agree on their rules, how they want this group to run out and operate. What penalties would be there for those who are not functioning or not doing enough job. And we provide them with handouts, and you can Google it. There is plenty of templates available online. And I embed an oral assessment tool. So I had 2 aspects. One is oral presentation, where each group is presenting their work to others, while I also addressed oral examinations. So every student was aware that if they will come to our stage, that they will be asked questions and they will be asked about the merits of their research proposals. And
12 minutes.
And the mere finding, the mere fact that they have this particular oral examination as part of the assessment has helped a lot in engaging students and making them attaining the learning outcomes at the end. And then I included self and peer assessment, and you can just do that as a survey question where you give them quantitative and one qualitative question, asking them about their leadership, about their communication channels, how did they perform, what do they think about other peers in terms of leadership, contribution, and genuine aspects. And you promote team management tools. So I give them something called Asana. It is like team management and project management tool available online. Every student can sign up for a free, and all of that has actually helped to achieve the graduate attributes. And this is the result that I got in the last 2 terms. So students were pretty fascinated with the group assessment, and one said the best aspect is that I have never seen the pattern of assignments like this. It was something beyond my imagination. It means that the way of doing assignments was easy, not too hard. And others have spoken about the team management and how they have learned many soft skill aspects. So before I finish, so I have one last slide to go. So these are the challenges that I have faced. So there was an issue with the commitment of casual staff. You ask them to do things, but unless you stimulate them and engage them in a way or another that they have the extra mile and put extra effort, you will have some difficulty in achieving what you are aiming for.
1 minute to go, Sama.
Yes. So just back to your phones, please. This is in a nutshell what I have been doing. So could you go back to your phone and give me your opinion about these features, the proposed features? What do you think about each one? Whether you will be considering any of them or not at all, just for me to build open and see how can we improve later on. If you can go to your phone again, and this is the code again, menti.com 2433 and 0. And I'm done with my presentation. So.
Thanks, Sama. While we're waiting for people to complete the little evaluation at the end, does anybody have any questions for Sama? You can either raise your hand or type your question into the group chat. While people are doing that, Sama, one of the questions that that came up for me was the project itself, the group task itself. Can you give us an example of what the actual group task was?
Yeah. Okay. So what I will do, I can. Can you see this?
But yeah,
Yeah,
but
just
quickly, Sama.
just quickly. Yeah, yeah. It was a research proposal. Students have to do that research proposal over 4 stages, 4 parts. Can you see that? Can you see what I'm? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So the first one is 10% of the 80% of the mark, because the first assessment was individual, and we kept it individual to measure the learning outcomes for individuals as well. And the group assessment, we split that into 4 assessments. One is outline proposal and group presentations, and they do that in tutorial classes, and that was during week 8. And there is 20% for draft research proposal and oral examinations. So if you have large classes, you may do that randomly and say just 50% of the groups will be examined by the tutor, and you can also do that during tutorial classes. But you ask students to prepare the draft research proposal in full, and then they have to take all the feedback into consideration and submit the final research proposal. So the rubric has to consider whether or not they have incorporated all the feedback that they got. And there is also 10%, or you can play with that weighting anyway. You can ask them to have peer evaluation, self and peer assessment. You can use SurveyMonkey, you can use your own tools. At CQ, we have something called a group SPA, which runs really well with Moodle site that we use. And this is the way how we do it. And we ask students even to consider Asana for their practice. And we give them a lot of details with regard to how they will form their groups, how they will run the group charters, and the rubric has to consider all these aspects. So when it comes to project management of
Thanks, Sama. I'll stop you there. I know that you could keep talking underwater,
yes.
and I appreciate that. Just one more question. How did the students perform overall? That's just a question that's been asked.
Okay, all groups have passed. We got only one group in the first term that has not actually done the work. And it was actually because of their individual capabilities. They were not engaged enough, but all other groups have done a good job. In term 2, we had some issues with the teaching staff. There was lack of resources, so students didn't perform as we actually intended. We got some academic misconduct cases because in some campuses, the students were allowed to form their own groups, which has actually deteriorated the entire intention of what we wanted to achieve. But overall, the overall satisfaction was 4.6 out of 5, which was quite pleasing to see from our students.
All right, thank you very much, Sama. We might just hold any further questions there. If we've got time, we'll